The biggest news of the last few weeks building up to Microsoft's annual event. See what I did there? And heading into and out of Google I/O. Oops, I did it again. Was the release of the Huawei P8. There's also a very silly 6.8-inch screen P8 Max version, which I won't waste your time with. The main event was impressive though. A premium metal unibody device with a 5.2-inch 1080p screen, small bezels, and only 6.4mm thin. Insert usual rant of this is quite thin enough, thanks. There's an unusual Kirin 935 chipset, 3GB of RAM, plus a 2680 mAh battery, all running Android plus the love it or hate it Emotion UI skin. But the star of the show is the camera, as we see so often. The 13-megapixel sensor has 4 sub-pixel types. Didn't Motorola try this on the original Moto X? Plus OIS and a dedicated image processor, Nokia 808 style. Add it all together and the P8 camera should be pretty competitive. In addition to multiple radio antennae for excellent reception, there's a second SIM slot, which can also take a micro SD card, a novel use of space. Also interesting is the optional e-ink cover, which adds a 4.3-inch display that's good out in the sun. The Huawei P8 will come in 16GB and 64GB versions. I'm developing this horribly overgeneralized theory about the nature of the phone market, at least here in the UK. Anyone who wants everything to just work and has plenty of disposable income buys an Apple iPhone. Anyone who wants everything to just work and hasn't got much in the wallet buys a Windows phone, while everyone else has a rich variety of somewhat more fragile Android handsets to choose from, with prices from just short of an iPhone down to just above the cheaper Lumias. A sweeping theory, to be sure, and full of flaws, not least that there are now top-end Android phones that cost more than iPhones, and that a Windows phone, quote, just working kind of depends on exactly what you want it to do. But it's a start. I'll be coming back to the top end shortly with the Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge in the next phone show, but in the meantime I'm more interested in what the mainstream has to choose from, and the £100 price point seems a sweet spot between the ultra cheap rubbish and the more expensive hardware. £100 to £150 should be enough to get a very full smartphone experience, with ultimate camera performance being the main omission. I've already looked at the Nexus 6 Lite, the Moto G 2nd Gen 2015, the one with front stereo speakers and a 720p 5-inch screen. And not exactly by coincidence, the two rivals here also both have 720p 5-inch screens. I'm telling you, this is the new sweet spot. This is the Honor Holly, made by Huawei and currently on Amazon at £90 SIM free, while this is the Microsoft Lumia 640, currently available at as low as £80 as a pay-as-you-go upgrade in Carphone Warehouse in the UK. Both are out-and-out bargains, but which is better? In the hand, it's the Lumia 640 all the way, I have to say, with a polarizer on the screen, keeping reflections largely at bay, and with a beautifully grippy matte finish on the back and sides. While the Holly has a low-grade screen that only really impresses when you run it at full brightness, as here, plus a shiny gloss plastic that reminds me of the Samsung Galaxy S3 and Galaxy S4, and that's not good. Once in action, the biggest drawback with the 640 is that it runs Windows Phone, smooth and bomb-proof, but ultimately limited in some ways, while the Honor Holly runs Android 4.4 at least, no 5 on the horizon, with all the usual Android mod cons, though the use of Emotion UI here with no app drawer, with outdated menu control, and with no backlight or mechanical feedback on any of the controls means that the Android experience is rather devalued. The holistically chosen components in the 640 impress across the board, with a better than expected 8-megapixel camera. Here are some samples, complete with Lumia Camera 5 and moment capture, grabbing stills out of full video, something which I thought would be limited to just the top-end Windows phones, plus an outstanding mono speaker. Here's a demo. Bit of Joe Bonamassa. Yep. This is full volume, but I'm going to get complaints. I'm going to get complaints from the rest of the family, so yeah. Sorry, everyone. Added a relatively large 2500 mAh replaceable battery and full LTE and NFC support, and you have a budget smartphone that, relatively speaking, kicks ass, if I'm allowed to use that word. The Honor Holly can't quite live up to all this. There's also an 8 megapixel camera and also with HDR, though I found focus to often be hit and miss. See a few of these samples, and I ended up with shots that I thought would be fine when taking them, but ended up with the wrong focus point. The Holly's speaker is okay, but is ultimately quite a lot quieter than the Lumia's. Here's a demo. Same piece of music, also max volume, and I can quite easily talk over it, but the quality's okay. Thank you, Joe. And the also removable battery is only 2,000 milliamp hours, and as a result, you'll probably only get through 1 day of use per charge. I'd expect up to 2 days on the Lumia, given its lightweight OS and use case. If you're open to the idea of using Windows Phone, good for beginners, essentially crash-proof, then the Lumia 640 is the best point of entry into this world. The lower-end Lumias have too many compromises in terms of components. If you've decided that you need Google services and thus Android and its applications, then forget the Holly. Sorry, Honor, I mean Huawei, which makes it. It's decent enough, but it's bland, it's flawed. Spend a few extra pounds at most and grab a Motorola Moto G 2nd Gen. It's the stunning standout buy in the smartphone world at the moment. With the Galaxy S6, the current top-end flavour of the month, I'm still waiting to get a full review retail handset. It's frustrating. They're in short supply, but I did want to demonstrate 2 of the new cases from the guys and girls at ProPorter. They send over stuff and I just show you the best of their accessories. And with the AWA Dummy S6, I kid you not, let me show you the slimline folio at £20 minus the usual 15% for promo code LUCKYYOU. ProPorter are used to me being very honest, and although I love the general design, not least the fold out stand arrangement, the overall solidity, well, isn't quite there, and the magnetic flap catch is a bit hit and miss. But throw caution to the wind and chuck £35, again minus the 15% at the company, and you get the very special Ted Baker Hex Whiz folio, and I have to say I'm blown away. The quality and the fit and the finish of the materials is stunning. A premium leather outer, patterned Hex Whiz leather inner, and the rubberized plastic shell keeps the phone very firmly in place. Put it all together and the result is very high end. And hey, if you can afford an S6, then you can certainly afford a premium way to carry and protect it with this Ted Baker design. As usual, the cases are covered by ProPorter's lifetime warranty, so do take a look.